He's one of the dopest engineers in the game. The head engineer exclusively for Prodigy of Mobb Deep. 10 Prodigy of Mobb Deep albums. The Hegelian Dialectic. The Book of Revelation.
It's a pleasure, man. That body of work is crazy. I mean,
Joe the engineer. Now we do this shit, nigga.
333. That's a sign from the heavens. Just look up in the heavens.
Yeah. What up? It is time for the Dour Hour. Let me make sure I invite the Dour people. I am Joe the engineer. You are the 333. And the Dour people maybe will be joining us shortly. I missed the Dour Hour yesterday because one of my favorite people was in town. And I was hanging out with him. And I thought about putting them on the Dour Hour, but, I didn't want to put nobody on the spot like that and just be like, yeah, we're doing a show and you're in it. So, as I roll the fuck up, because that's what we do, let me play something. Let me play something while I roll up. I should play the roll up theme, but I'm not going to. I will play this one, though. What up, what up, what up? It is time for the Dour Hour, and I see that YouTube is banning the shit out of me again. It's been like this for the past couple days. I guess this is what I get for going on and on and on in my Instagram stories about all the fucking nonsense that is happening in our world today, mainly by the powers that be that would like to control every aspect of your existence. It is what it is. I don't give a fuck. Happy holidays to everybody, no matter which religion or secular denomination that you consider yourself a part of. And then stay safe, because it's already started to rain here. The snow and ice comes Saturday in New York, and it is supposed to go from 56 down to 20 degrees in just a few hours after it rains. So everything in New York is going to turn into a giant sheet of ice. I imagine it's like that in the rest of the country. So be safe and plan accordingly, people. So, yeah, man, YouTube has been we've been fucking with my outreach lately. Not that I really care about shit like that, but even the people who fuck with me in the 333 don't even know that I'm like going live and shit. So, it creates quite a quagmire. It paints me into a corner, and I'm left with a decision to make of, do I not talk about all the shit that's going on and, just be entertainment and whatnot, or do I use whatever platform I was able to create over the past 3 years, and do something, knowledgeable with it. In my mind, my view, what would be something positive with it. Yeah, fuck them. I'm just going to keep doing me. I don't care. The people who are supposed to hear the nonsense that I say, they will hear it. Now, this is wild, though. This is wild. You can always tell when they throttle your outreach on social media. So we're almost up to 2023, which means social credit scores are even closer and closer to being a real thing. Other countries have already started to implement social credit scores. China's had one for a few years now. Canada will begin in 2023 with their social credit system. And from what I've read, the Canadian social credit system is going to fucking suck. So basically, if you don't have enough social currency, they won't even allow you to access social media. And in order to gain social currency, you just have to be a good little boy and girl and do what they're told and what they expect of you. So China's a little bit more stringent. They don't allow you to travel. You can't buy plane tickets, train tickets, anything like that if you say shit that they don't like. It's a whole different... It's years ahead of where Canada is, and don't act like the rest of the world is not going to do and follow the path that has been laid before them, because that's sort of the beta test for the powers that be to see what works and what doesn't work with the implementation and the application of their social credit score. Now, it's always funny when you want to talk about a social credit score, because essentially it's left up to whoever's deciding whether or not what you did violates their policies. It's not like there's some benevolent AI that's going to decide if what you said or posted goes against the betterment of the public, I guess you would try to say. It's still just people, and people have agendas. So, they always said, I don't care who votes, I only care who counts the votes. Well, this is kind of the same thing. Who is scoring your social activity? Who is the one, and what guidelines were they given as to what's acceptable and what's not acceptable and shit like that? So you always have to peel back the layers of the onion and see what the fuck it is they're really trying to do. One of the positive things about this country in particular is the fact that it is 50 different individual states wrapped into one country. And I guess that's what they try to do with Europe, is make all the countries into one super state. But it's essentially the same thing. Going from Italy to Spain to France is just like going from New Jersey through Pennsylvania and into Ohio. So it's pretty much the same thing, and also falls along the same lines of each individual states has states' rights, so they are allowed to govern themselves as they see fit, or as the voters vote to see fit, supposedly. And then as a whole country, there's 3 governing bodies over top of everything, the 3 branches of government that will, create the rules and guidelines on a national level that on the things that you can implement nationally. So one of the things here is weed is where it's different from state to state. There are still states that weed is illegal, which blows my fucking mind. It's like, this happened to me in Washington, D.C., because weed is recreationally legal in Washington, D.C., but if you cross that imaginary invisible line into Virginia, which is a Commonwealth state, weed is, at that time, was fully illegal, and they were wanting to give me a felony charge because I had a vape cartridge on me, and they said this is considered a concentrate in our state, and this is felony charges. And fortunately for me, the vape was actually empty. So, yeah, go ahead and test an empty vape, you dickheads. Let's see, what else was I don't know, I'm just kind of freestyling it right now because I'm talking to nobody. But I've always preached to any artist that I've worked with, it doesn't matter if there's one person in a crowd or if there's 100,000 people in the crowd, you still have to stay consistent with the things that you're portraying and, the entertainment value or knowledge, in this case, that you are trying to imbue upon people. I'm in one of those weird moods where I'm using words that I typically wouldn't use in an everyday situation, so I do know that with this usually comes a headache at some point. There are indicators. When you live with migraines, you have indicators that will let you know that one of them's coming. And sometimes when my brain starts acting like this, I know that there's one coming. So, not looking forward to that nonsense, but it is part of my existence. And I would never say that you get used to chronic pain, but you kind of get used to the process wrapped around the pain. Like, as you're going through a migraine, nobody's used to that. I don't give a fuck. You don't get used to that. The things leading up to and then afterwards, you kind of get used to that routine and the steps that are taken, because it does become a routine and a process, and you find what works for you both before and after to try to mitigate your pain level and to make it the easiest experience possible, because you're going to experience it no matter what. It's coming. Another indicator that I have a migraine coming up is my dog is usually hangs out right beside me, just kind of looks at me the whole time. I'm just like, the fuck you looking at, homie? Emmanuel, what up, G's? And then I usually just get it, like, fuck. He's not leaving my side. This is going to be interesting. So, probably got one coming soon. Whatever. I lived through this. It doesn't really deter me from any mission or missive or anything like that. It's just while you're going through migraines, you're pretty much useless. So, whatever. What up, homie? Emmanuel, fantasy football playoffs officially begin this evening. For all of those who participate in any fantasy football league whatsoever, if you made the playoffs, then good luck to you, because it begins now. Yeah, let me check. I don't even know. I think it's the Jags and Jets tonight. It's in New York, and the weather's terrible. So I'll look for the running backs to have good games. I should probably start Etienne then. But the weather is already bad, so it's only going to continue to get worse. The Jets and Jacksonville are fortunate that they're having the game on Thursday night and not Saturday, or Sunday. Yeah, let's check out the playoffs since it's only me and you in the Dour Hour right now, homie. Let me see. I mean, it's a one-game scenario. Anybody's got a chance. So, this week, we have Lump Snacks and Josh all in going at it. And then Andrew and Emmanuel. So, I do know that the winner of Andrew and Emmanuel has to face this guy in the second round of the playoffs. See, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your team, but do know that it is cold and rainy here. So, I don't know how well the passing games are going to go tonight. I would look for the Jags to win because the Jets are starting Zach Wilson, and he's a terrible quarterback already, so if you put him in terrible weather, it's going to be even worse. Right now, it's 40 degrees and rainy, and it is raining nonstop for the next 2 days. So, I would plan accordingly with your fantasy teams. I have a bye this week in the 3-3-3 league, so I don't even have to do anything. I don't have to do shit. In my other league, though, in the NFL league, I did make the playoffs as the number 2 seed, Emmanuel, and I will see if I've got anybody on my roster with the Thursday night slate. Thursday. I got nobody tonight. So my opponent has wisely not started Trevor Lawrence. Dude, it's been raining all day. It's going to be raining all night, and it's going to be raining all day tomorrow. And then it's going to get real fucking cold and windy. So we shall see. Fantasy football, I was so opposed to it my entire life until last year. Carrie finally broke me and got me into fantasy football. Shout out to my homie Roger Harper, because he kind of forced me into it. He drafted a team for me and then said, here, you're running this team. And I was like, yeah, all right. And kind of got into it. And now I'm all about it, dude. I'm all about it. I'm trying to win. So that's that. Ain't a whole lot going on, man. What well, that was really that was a really flavorful moment of my blunt. Woo. What is today? Today's the 22nd, so it's only basically 2.5 days until Christmas. Yeah, this year's been fun. It's definitely been fun. I do appreciate everybody who has participated in 3-3-3 Fantasy League. And next year, we're going to continue to do more of the same. I hope that I win so I don't have to send nobody a hoodie. But, whatever. Now, in the NFL league that I'm in, that's a whole different scenario. There is nothing but winning that one this year. It's the only thing that fucking matters. It's the only thing that matters. Not really, but as far as fantasy football-wise, it's the only thing that matters. I don't know what's been going on in the world the last 24 hours. Actually 48 hours. I have been in the kitchen making cookies, and I had something in my eye. God damn it. I've been making cookies and making hoodies, and I have not tapped into the world to see what the hell was going on. I have no idea what is going on. I did see something about Trey Songz had to turn himself in for an assault charge. Apparently he punched a girl or something like that, but hell no, I'm not celebrating New Year's Eve in NYC. I mean, I'll be here in New York, but I'm not going to Times Square. Are you fucking kidding me? So, fortunately for me, Quad Studios is on 47th and 7th. That's just a few blocks, and I mean literally like 2 blocks from where the ball drops. And every single year, Lou would throw a retarded party at Quad Studios on New Year's Eve. And then as the ball would get ready to drop, we just go up on the roof and just, celebrate from there without having to be amongst the millions of people that are down there. So I've never had to be amongst the people on the ground during New Year's Eve, but I have done New Year's Eve in Times Square numerous times because of working at Quad. So that shit was always awesome. You had to get there before 3 o'clock because by 3 o'clock, the crowd started to make it past the doors of Quad, and they had to lock them so that nobody would come in and try to use the bathroom because there's no bathrooms out there. Whenever you get there, you're there. You are there. So the crazy part about New Year's Eve in Times Square is 3, 2, 1, ball drops, people celebrate for about 10 minutes, and then within the 30 minutes, those million people are gone, and it's just garbage and trash and a huge cleanup process after that. But it is amazing how quickly that many people get out from where they were at and go elsewhere. So, A, they got parties to go to, but B, who knows how long they've been standing there without food, without going to the bathroom, without... Well, you could smoke legally. Larry Bird, what up, homie? You could smoke legally in New York now, so I imagine New Year's Eve is going to be a little bit different. There will be a bunch of weed smoke in the air. But, yeah, I'm good on that, man. I'm good on that. And plus, I'm in my 40s, homie. That's something you do when you're young. Nah, you don't have to pay to be there. It's just the tourism aspect is how the city makes money because most people aren't just coming for a day. They're there for a couple days. Hotels, restaurants, shopping, all that shit. So all these people who come from all over the world to do this is why. I don't know any New Yorkers, to be perfectly honest with you, but I don't know two like New Yorkers that are like, yo, I'm gonna go to Times Square for New Year's Eve. You in? It is legal to smoke outside in New York. You are legally allowed to smoke anywhere that smoking cigarettes is legal. And you thought it would be like initially you thought it would be like this huge rush of just everybody smoking weed outside, and it's not like that at all. It's just like the way it was. It's just when you're smoking a blunt outside, A, nobody can bitch to you about it because it's legal now, and then B, you don't have to look over your shoulder and think you might get thrown into jail or get fined just for smoking some weed in New York. So I know that first 2 months where it was legal, I was still like paranoid and antsy about like the police and shit because it just felt weird. Like, damn, you can fucking smoke here. This is wild. Yeah. So, I don't know. I imagine there could be a lot of vape pens in Times Square for New Year's Eve. That's what I would do. I did go to, not recently, but a couple years ago, I went to a Patriots and Steelers game in Pittsburgh with my brother. And I had a vape that it had those, it looked like a Juul, so it had those square cartridges. And I went through 2 of them during that game. My goal was to go through 1. I was like, yo, I looked at the guys beside me. I was just like, yo, y'all smoke weed? And they were just like, hell yeah. I'm like, we're getting fucking high today. Brand new cartridge. I do not want to take this home with me, is what I told them, right? So we just started getting smacked. Like, smack, trying to kill a whole cartridge between me and then 2 people who I know don't smoke as much weed as I do. So, and then it was a magnetic cartridge. It like clipped in with magnets. You didn't screw it on. And I'm high. I'm enjoying myself because the Patriots have beaten the Steelers like 400 times in a row. And like we're in Pittsburgh, and I'm just like, as a Patriots fan, talking mad shit to like the people around me. Adam, what up, homie? And the Steelers lined up for a field goal, literally kicking right into where our seats were. And I looked at my brother. I was just like, yo, he's going to miss. I'm like, and I looked at everybody. I was like, he's missing this shit. Fuck y'all. And he did. So when he missed, there we go. So when he missed the kick, I went, fuck yeah. And I just pumped my fist like that, forgetting that it was a magnetic cartridge. And that cartridge just fucking took off. Right into the crowd somewhere. Like, gone. You. We were only halfway through it, too. I was like, oh, motherfucker. I forgot it was fucking magnetic. So, fortunately, I had a backup. Young Soul, what up, Young Soul? Yeah, fortunately, I had a backup. And then burned through that. But I'll never forget watching that cartridge fly through the air as I'm sitting there in the crowd at this game. Like, Sonny D, yo. I'm just watching it. It's like in slow motion, flying downwards into the crowd, probably a solid 15 rows minimum away. And I'm just hoping it doesn't accidentally like hit somebody in the eye or like in the face or something. Yeah, that cartridge was gone, man. Gone. And you know what? Whoever it did hit, if it did hit somebody, it makes me laugh thinking that they have no idea what it was either, unless they're like a super pothead, because this was a couple years ago. And, you know, especially that kind of cartridge was completely new and unheard of. Like, vape pens have kind of already hit, because I was not the only one with a vape pen in the crowd. But the one that looks like a Juul and had the square cartridges so that you could act like you're just smoking a Juul and they can't say shit to you, that shit had literally just came out. So they probably thought it was a Juul cartridge, and if they picked it up and like put it in theirs and took a hit, not knowing it was weed, even funnier. I hope that's what happened. I really do. I know that's kind of fucked up, because like, what if they don't smoke weed and then they just took a hit of a vape pen, which is, you know, it's a concentrate. They were a whole different high, whole different level of high. So, yeah, hilarious if that actually happened. In the fantasy world that is my brain, and now that I've said it in whatever version of me in the multiverse that actually happened to, hilarious. Like, what if they would have gotten hit with it and then put it in their shit and got high? So funny. I hope that's what happened. I really do. So, shout out to my homie Jason. Years ago, he hit me up and he's just like, yo, I'm bored. What are you doing? I'm like, well, I actually have to go see a couple people real quick. He's like, oh, let me drive you. I'm bored. I was like, word. So we're driving on the BQE. It's raining. It's wet. There's snow on the ground. And there's a wreck. We're not quite on the BQE. We're on the on-ramp. Like, we had taken an exit to get on it. So it's a one-lane thing. And there was a wreck at the very beginning. So you couldn't actually get onto the BQE. And my homie looks at me. He's like, oh, I'm going to drive over top of the medium. You know, it wasn't like a divider or something. It was like a curb-sized medium. But there's a curb and then grass. Probably for like 20, 30 feet. And then a curb to get onto the BQE. And I was just like, no, don't do that, dude. I mean, he had a Nissan Altima. A two-wheel drive Nissan Altima. It had been raining. It was wet. It was mud. I was like, there is no way that he's going to understand how to get through that in that car. Like, if you're going to do that, you can't stop. Once you get into it, you just have to go and then pop right on the BQE, which would have been impossible because you at least have to make sure that no traffic is coming. And there was a lot of traffic. So I'm just like, yo, do not drive over that shit, yo. And he's just like, nah, I got this. And we drive over it, and he stops. And I was just like, oh, no, you weren't supposed to stop. And he's just like, nah, we'll be fine. And he tried to, like, get going again so we could actually get on the BQE. And of course, his car just sunk in the mud. And the more he pressed the gas, the more the back end just dug in. And I'm just like, I looked at him. I said, yo, I'm not helping you dig this out because I fucking told you not to do this. And I just sat there on my phone because it was fucking cold and wet. Deadly combination, right? So he's out there like trying to dig his car out, and I know that like this is not going to work. That shit is fully to the muffler in the mud, and I'm just like, we are not getting a 2-wheel drive Nissan Altima out of this mud, homie. And I keep telling him like, yo, you're gonna have to call a tow truck to get us out of here. He's just like, nah, we got this. I'm like, we don't have this. You need to call a fucking tow truck. And I guess since we were in the middle, another person's thought that they could do what we weren't able to accomplish and drive through that medium and onto the BQE because traffic was getting backed up forever now because of this rear end situation that happened at the front of the exit. And it was one of those big, long passenger vans, like airport vans, but it wasn't an airport van. It was just one of those, right? And I watched them drive onto the medium and then do the exact same fucking thing. Tires just dig into the ground. And I'm just like, I cannot believe they did that. But I'm thinking to myself, that's a passenger van. There's a lot of people in there. If they all come out and like there's 8 or 9 of us, we can actually get this shit out of here. So I go over to the van, and it's like a church lady. They were literally on their way to church. A church lady. She had to have been in her 60s, 50s or early 60s. And I'm just like, if it was dark, so I couldn't see who was in the van. And I'm just like, if everybody in the van helps, I think we can get both of these cars out. We can at least try. And I'm looking at her and the woman in the passenger seat, and one of them's in an all-white outfit, and the other one's in an all-purple outfit with the hat and everything, the heels. I'm just like, well, you two aren't going to be any help. You shouldn't even attempt to push us. That's like, just logistically, this is not going to help at all. Hey, they were gangster about it and got out and tried to help. I didn't understand why these 2 church ladies was going to try to help if there's a van full of what I'm assuming are parishioners in there. Well, there was a van full of people, but not what I thought. And so the 2 ladies get out and they walk around the van. I'm just like, you definitely, especially lady in the white, you should not be out here right now. And I'm like, all right, so everybody's just going to have to get behind here and push. And I look, and all of the passengers in the van were from a school of handicapped kids. I felt terrible for like being like, yo, y'all need to help us push, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I just fucking threw my lighter. God damn it. I have no idea where it went. That's what I get for telling this story. Yeah, that's exactly what I get for even telling this story. Well, fuck it. I already lost the lighter. So anyway, it's a school of handicapped children. And I'm just like, we're never getting out of here. But, to their credit, everybody except one person, yeah, Larry Bird, if you'd have seen the look on my face as the first person came around the van and like the instant realization that there is no way in the world we're getting out of this fucking situation we're in right now without a tow truck. Oh, Adam, it gets better, man. So they all get behind the van and try to push. I don't know why we didn't try to push the car first, because it was much smaller. But we're trying to push this van, and the church ladies are pushing, and all these kids are giving it all they got and shit, except one. This is what I'm talking about, Larry Bird. There's one dude who's about 6'6", and like, it's a big fucking dude, and he's not even touching the van. And I keep looking at him, I'm just like, yo, homie, you want to help us? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, that guy right there could probably pick this van up and throw it, because there is no limit. There's no governor that says to tell your muscles and whatnot to stop so that you don't break your arms. Like, they'll just snap your bones, right? Where you are so dowered right now. Look at you. I'm just telling this retarded story about, it's the wrong word to use in this scenario, this insane story that happened to me and my homie on the BQE. So I'm looking at a homie, I'm just like, yo, homie, you want to help? Because he's literally gigantic already, and I know he doesn't know his own strength. And he ain't even touched the fucking car, right? So I'm like, now I'm starting to get frustrated because we're really in it, and now these people are stuck also. So I go back and I sit in the car and I look at my homie. I was like, call a fucking tow truck, dude. He's just like, nah, I don't want to pay for a tow truck right now. It's going to be like $400. I say, you did this to yourself though. Like, this isn't my fucking fault. This is your fault. Call a fucking tow truck. So a few minutes later, the universe provides a tow truck. He didn't call one. A guy who just happened to be going through that exit and about to hop on the BQE saw us. And so he comes over and he's just like, what happened, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, well, clearly you can see what the fuck happened. And I'm just like, we really need to get this van out. This is church ladies and some mentally handicapped kids here. We got to get them out of this scenario. Yeah, you missed the whole front end of this story. So you missed the whole front end of this story, dude. So I'm just like, all right, so, talk to him. It's his.
I'm not really interested in the front end anyway, so like.
I'm like, yo, talk to him because this is his car and he got us into this fucking scenario. And so the guy's just like, yo, I'll do it for like, you guys really need help. Like, you give me like, I think he said 200 each car, 200 for the van, 200 for your car, and I'll get you guys out of here. I swear, my homie looks at him and says, we don't need a tow truck. We've got Jesus. I never wanted to punch one of my friends so hard in the face ever in my life. And still to this day, I've never had that notion of like, I'm going to knock my own friend out right now. Because he said, we don't need a tow truck. We've got Jesus. Oh, instant rage in me. Instant rage, because at this point we had been here for like 30 or 40 fucking minutes. And now I just want to say, fuck it. I'm trying to go home. And I looked at him and I said, Jesus is not going to help us out of this fucking situation. I said, you need to pay that fucking man. So they actually had bread, I guess, because they paid to get out. He pulled them out. Bam, the church van with the mentally handicapped kids is now on their way. And now we're stuck there. And this guy literally gets ready to pull the fuck off like, nah, he ain't going to pay me. I'm not doing this. I'm just like, dude, I'm not paying for this shit. I will fucking call a cab and leave you here if I have to. Like, you have to learn a lesson from this. And I ain't paying for this fucking lesson. So I got mad, yo. And, Dour People, I had like probably, a dozen cookies, a bunch of brownies, and a whole bunch of like gummies on me that I had just made. Like a bunch. Like a lot. And so I just walk over to the dude. I was just like, yo, let me ask you something, Domi. I was like, you smoke weed? He's just like, of course I do. I was just like, well, I don't have any weed on me, but I'm going to give you these cookies. And I gave him everything I had. He's like, I don't want no fucking cookies, dude. I was like, no, there's weed in them. He's like, I don't believe you. I was just like, clearly this guy's never heard of edibles. He was not from this country, so it doesn't surprise me. Like, he probably only smoked hash before in his life, to be honest with you. Because that's outside the U.S. and Canada, most people smoke hash. They don't smoke weed.
Yeah.
So he probably only smoked hash and shit like that, so I'm not surprised. But I was just like, yo, trust me. Just go home and eat like a half of this cookie and wait like an hour. Yo, he was mad dismissive, and I know this motherfucker went home because clearly he never had edibles before. And he had went home and probably ate a couple cookies because you've had them before. You're going to eat more than one. And he probably ended up in the hospital. But shout out to him because he actually did say, you know what, I'm going to help you out of this. And he hooked the thing up and pulled us the fuck out of there. And at that point, I just wanted to go home. I was just like, yo, fuck this shit. I don't care. Give this guys these goddamn cookies and brownies and shit and just get me out of here. So, hilarious story about somebody. All right, so let me ask you this before I even tell you this nonsense. Have you, I mean, you've done it yourself, but have you ever been around somebody that's like not really ate edibles before and then they like take it overboard?
I mean, I've been in situations with other shit. Like, I had my man's one time. I was telling him about salvia in class at IAR where I met you. I'm telling him, I'm like, yo, nah, like, yo, my one homie, like, smoked this shit. And he became paint in a bucket, and like he got painted onto a wall of some new crib and watched like a couple move in and like get pregnant and have a baby and raise a family. And then when the kid went to college, he woke up like, oh, it's the whole, like, he experienced the whole like vivid lifetime in the wall. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, were you not here for the salvia story that I told?
I heard some of it, but I think you were just telling it the other day.
I was.
My homie Moo was just like, yo, nah, that shit ain't shit. Like, that ain't gonna do nothing. And I'm just like, oh, word. I'm like, yeah, so we go buy this shit right now. You'll fuck with it. He's like, yeah. So when we had like a lunch break, we went to the smoke shop. We went to a few until we found like the real shit. Yeah, he smoked this shit and just tripped the fuck out on a stoop in like the West Village. That shit was hilarious.
Yeah, I threw my fucking lighter while I was telling that story, and I don't know where it went.
Well, I'm sorry about the lighter's fate. Why we wait? Nah, I mean, people who say edibles don't do shit to them. I mean, it happens all the time. Like.
So, I mean, I already told my salvia story. Larry Bird, hit me up, homie. I already told my salvia story, but right after I went through my trip, so long story short, I ended up in somebody's purple drink at a barbecue. I was in the cup of drink. Like, yeah, I went from being in the studio filled up with water, everything turned into ice cubes, and then I was in somebody's purple drink in a white cup at a barbecue, and they were like, they threw me out, and then when I landed, the ground turned into a movie film, and I was just watching my life. Yeah. I was watching like my childhood go by, and I saw my twin sister, so then I went and talked to her, and was just like, she was like 5 and coloring at the crib, and I was just like, yo, you're not gonna believe this shit. And then I kind of just snapped out of it. But right after I went on my trip, then Rain Man, he smoked it, and he just sat there and giggled for like 10 minutes, and then apparently all of us turned into the original Mickey Mouse cartoon, the black and white one, where he's like driving the boat and like whistling from like the 40s or whatever. He's like, everybody turned into that, and he was just laughing at us because we all look like that. And then Chi-Chi was a funny one, because Chi-Chi walked in circles in laps around the studio like he was Maserati Fox and he was angry. Just walking in laps, but he was pointing and stuff and going, oh my, oh, and then he would like laugh and be, oh my. And then he was just like, dude, I was at the circus. He's like, I was literally at the circus. I was just like, yeah, you actually got up and walked around, though. So that's why salvia is dangerous, because you'll think you're somewhere else and like walk off a building or something.
I mean, yeah, we every time he tried to get up, we're like, yo, nah, like chill, and sat him back down. Like, I knew what it was. Like, some people use it to fuck with people and get it on film and just fuck them over. Like,
so.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, I never fucked with it personally.
I've smoked it a few times, and then the last time I smoked it, I was at the studio. I didn't have any weed. I was just like, fuck it, I got some salvia. I got nothing to do right now. Let's go for a ride. And I had just watched, you remember the studio TV only had like public access channels. So it's either like the Maury Show, Pregnancy Reveals, or, Telemundo. I don't speak Spanish, so that was a moot point. And then or PBS. So I put it on PBS, and it was a documentary about the Colorado River. Super boring, right? And when I smoked salvia, I went down the fucking Colorado River, but everything was cardboard. And I was just like, oh, so this isn't even like a spiritual, metaphysical journey or something like that. You're not being taught something. Like, it's kind of like whatever just happened, and whatever's like fresh in your brain is that's kind of where you're gonna go. So after that, I never smoked it again. I will say, it's the weirdest feeling in the beginning, because as soon as you hit it and like hold it in and let out, the second you let out, it feels like you're falling. You just literally, but nothing's moving. You just have that weightless but falling feeling, like you're sick. Everything's froze. Are we back? There we are.
I thought you were frozen on purpose because you were talking about sinking, and then you're just like you froze while
the internet's
sinking.
been fucking retarded in Brooklyn lately, dude. Like stupid. So, all right. So this is after P died, and I'm back at West Virginia for like that year I was back there, right? And I think it was either Labor Day or Memorial Day. I think it was whichever one starts the summer. It was that one, not the one that ends it. Memorial Day. So, I'm in my niece's house, and I had just made a tray of s'mores, and it was only like this big, but we're talking like 30 weed cookies worth of weed in this shit, like ultra potent. And me, her, and her husband eating these s'mores, getting smacked, and her mother-in-law kept bugging her husband, like, yo, you need to eat one of these, you need to eat one of these, you need to eat one of these. And I keep telling her to fucking chill, because she had ate a cupcake weeks before and got too high off of one cupcake. And I was like, yo, this is way worse. Like, way worse. You need to fucking chill. But she would not leave him alone. Dour People. This was hours of her being like, nah, you're being an asshole right now. You need to chill out. You need to eat one of these things. Like, she would not leave him the fuck alone. It was really annoying. So eventually, he just goes, God damn it, woman. And I just hear him from the other room. He's like, God damn it, woman, just give it to me. And so he's just like, just to get her to shut up, he's going to eat an edible, right? A, they didn't know how strong it was. And B, it'd been 30 years since he dowered. Now, this is where it gets real bad. Since they were in the other room and she said, like, she was dosing him. I walk in, it was like over half of it that he had eaten. Like, it was huge. I was just like, I looked at her, I looked at him, I said, you're not calling an ambulance. It'll go away eventually. And I said, this is your fucking fault. You deal with it. An hour later, this grown-ass man, I'm talking like in his upper 50s, is butt naked except his tighty-whities, in the bathroom with his both arms and head inside of the toilet. And he's going, yo, this is it. This is the end. Just let me die in peace. In the fucking toilet, dude. This went on forever. Like, just nonsense like this. And then she kept coming downstairs. She's like, what do? I was like, you deal with it. This is your fucking fault. I tried to warn you. Like, so the next morning, when he got up, all you heard is he started yelling at her. You motherfucking bitch, you tried to poison me. He's just screaming at her. And he comes downstairs and does not say a word to me. He just looked at me and just kept it moving. And then he looked at my niece and his son. He looked at them. He's like, you fucking people have a problem. He's like, you do this to yourself on purpose. You have a fucking problem. And just left and got in the car. And then I was told he literally yelled at his wife for like the 3-hour drive it took them to get back to Virginia from Pennsylvania. So, yeah, some people can't handle their edibles, man. This man was literally stripped down to his tighty-whities and was a third of his body inside of the toilet. And that's where he wanted to stay. And he just kept saying he saw demons and and that this was the end. He just wanted to die in peace. Like it was bad.
The last time I had one, I bugged the fuck out. That shit was OD. I had a panic attack at like the middle of the till like 2 in the morning. So that shit was fucking OD. It was during a heat wave, so I can't really smoke when it's like 100 degrees.
It sucks.
OD. So
I don't like it.
I'm not eating a lot either. I can't deal with that shit. My body really just shuts down when it's like that hot outside and shit. So like, I'm like, yo, fuck, but how I gotta go to sleep. So I'm like, I took a little punch bar or whatever, and yo, that shit I started tripping, bro. That shit was crazy. Like, instead of going to sleep, this was the night Better Call Saul ended. I want to say I just watched the finale, and then I'm like bugging. Yeah, that shit was crazy, son.
So,
I'm good on the edibles.
I eat them shits literally every fucking day, dude.
I used to.
Well, I make them, so like whatever. I know exactly what I'm getting into, and I know where the weed came from. So, you know, the last like real sickle cell attack that P had, that was like, we're going to the hospital for this shit. He was in there for 18 days.
That was the
blood transfusion one, right? So when he gets out, he comes to the crib like, and he's just like, yo, let's go to the lab. I'm just like, yeah, fuck it. I know you've been waiting. You probably, you know, the sickle cell attack lasted for a couple days, and then him just not feeling good lasts for a couple days. But then that, like the last week of it's all recovery, so he's just like getting his strength back up and eating again and shit like that. So I've been there with him many times. You want to write some records, listen to some beats, do something to pass the time, right? So I'm thinking, all right, he probably wrote something dope, because this was a crazy one, right? So we go to Mark's studio, where I mixed the Hegelian dialectic at, that little tiny, such a small space, right? And we sit down on the console, and I look at him, I'm just like, all right, what do you want to do? And he just goes, and I'm just like, what the fuck is that? He's like, it's mushrooms. And I was just like, I never had mushrooms before. I don't like doing psychedelics because my mind is a little bit too active for shit like that. So, and I just looked at it. Now, P had tried mushrooms with Winston a couple times, like once or twice, but they were going out. They were like eating like a cut, like microdosing, and then going out to the club. Not this one, not this time. P just was like, bang. And I looked at him, and I thought to myself, dude, this guy just about died. How can I say no? And plus, I'd never done mushrooms before, so I'm thinking to myself, this could be a hilarious story, because the first time I ever eat mushrooms is with Prodigy. This is retarded. It's going to be so stupid. So, dude, this is the first time ever, and I ate 4 grams. So, typically, you would eat like 1, maybe a half, 1. I ate 4, and then P ate 4. And, you know, the first couple hours was cool. Like, we just wandered around the Bushwick Collective and just looked at murals and just
the graffiti and shit.
Yeah, we looked at all the graffiti, and it was like 3 a.m., so there was nobody there.
That's like the perfect place to trip. Nobody's there anyway. It's like the weirdest fucking place.
Yeah, it was dope as fuck, because we just both talk about like what we see and try to compare, like, oh, that's fucking dope. You see that shit moving right there? And then
I miss all the parties out there.
And then we go back to the lab, and this shit's like not really wearing off at all. Like, I am high as fuck, like high, and I mean, P just ate 4 grams too, so it's not like he's sober. And so he's just like, yo, I heard that if you like eat vitamin C, it'll like take the high away. So that's for acid, that's not mushrooms. So me not knowing it, I'm just like, fuck yeah, dude, let's go to the store. Yo, we went to that corner store, and we were standing the candy that's right beside the only register in this whole fucking store. And we were just staring at these orange...
24-hour spot?
Yeah, the 24-hour spot, yeah. So we were just...
I forget what it's called.
We're just sitting there...
Is it Hana? Hana something market, or am I tripping? Maybe.
I can't remember. So we're literally just staring at this bag of orange jelly beans. Dude, we had to have been standing there for like 20 fucking minutes. Cuz you know, we're high. Time doesn't exist. And it's silent. We're just sitting, both of us are just sitting there staring. And they're like, we're in the front of the line, so there's people like walking around us. And I guarantee there were people like, yo, these motherfuckers are high as shit. Now, the funny part is, one of them was Prodigy. Like, and nobody, not a single person, you know that neighborhood, not a single person even realized who it was, which is a good thing because we were smacked, right? So, eventually, the guy behind the register is like, yo, you guys okay? Like, and then we got some orange jelly beans, and we housed them things. It ain't help. I think it made it worse. So we go back to the studio. Now, P shit, yeah, it is 3:33 somewhere, homie. So P shit had worn off. This is like 6 to 8 hours into it at this point. Right? Not me. I had smoked multiple blunts to the head. P wasn't smoking any weed. Like, I'm smacked. So I just had my head on the console and my arms were like swinging. Like I'm Kevin Hart on the toilet or something, and my legs are swinging. And Pete just kept looking at me and going, man, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know it was going to be like this. I was like, no, it's cool. Don't apologize. I'm just fucked up. I was like, I didn't know it was going to be like this. Like, this is why I don't do shit like this, because I tend to take those things overboard. 4 grams your first time is stupid. So I looked at Pete. I said, yo, I'm going to just have to go through this. I'll be right back. Because I knew that I just had to experience. I had crossed the precipice. There's a precipice in mushrooms. You either just have, like, you know, visuals and tracers and, you know, interesting conversations and everything's cool, shit like that, or you leave and go on a journey. I crossed the precipice. I was on a journey. So I'm like, I have to go through this. I'll be right back. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And the blue shopping bag from the corner store was on the floor between us. And I looked at it, and it just started spinning, and it turned into a portal. And I just jumped through the portal, dude. I'm out of here, right? So I ended up in the universe, just in space, in silence. And I'm like, I'm very aware that this is going on. But I'm not freaking out because I know that I'm high. I'm just like, no, I am fucking galactically stoned right now. I'm literally in the fucking universe. And all of a sudden, my body just goes boom, like this, and like stretches as far as it can. But I split into individual atoms. But I was still in the shape of me, right? But you could tell that there was space in between all the atoms. And I'm just like, oh, this is fucking wild. And then all of a sudden, all those little individual atoms went in different directions. And I went to, I don't know, I couldn't even give you a number of how many different, like, planets and realities and universes that I went to, because each one went to a different one. Now, here's the crazy part. My consciousness stayed in one place while all of my physical parts went to go experience this. All of the sights, sounds, smells, feels, everything from each of these realities and universes all came back at the same time and just went into my brain. And it was so fucking overwhelming. Like, that's the most overwhelmed I've ever fucking felt. It just, like, I felt like Neo, like when he's downloading information and shit, except I couldn't handle it. It was too much. So it was so much information at once. Like, and then I just kind of snapped out of it once it like overwhelmed me. And then I was just like back in the studio, and then Pete's just like, are you all right? And I told him what the fuck happened. I was like, dude, you're not going to believe what just happened to me. So we eventually leave the studio. It's like 8 in the morning. We go back to the crib. This is Williamsburg crib. And like Pete goes and does something else. Yo, I was still high for like another like 4 or 5 hours. Like that shit was like 16, 18 hours long.
That's a long time.
Just tripping my fucking face off.
it's another reason why I never fucked with it. I don't want to be like charged for that long. Like I can't.
Well, so the other interesting part about that is the next time we did it, same thing, same mushrooms, same dosage, 4 grams. I was like, well, we've already set the bar here, so why would we ever go below that shit? And we only did it twice more together, and both times, like, I kind of knew what I was getting into, so I went with a point. I knew that if I ate that much, I was going to go somewhere else. So I said to myself, I got questions that need answered. And both times when I went to where I went and I asked the question, as soon as I got the answer, snapped right back to reality, fully sober. So I was like, yo, this is like a tool that you can use to connect to a different consciousness and get some fucking answers, like ayahuasca and shit like that. But you have to eat a lot of mushrooms to make that happen. And then the very last time we did it, I felt like I was high for 10 seconds. Like, as soon as they hit me, I closed my eyes and said, all right, let's go. And I went and asked a question, and I was given the answer immediately and immediately snapped out of it. And then P, being hilarious, is just like, yo, let's try to I want to make a record. Yo, your mind might be working when on mushrooms, but your body doesn't. I couldn't even operate Pro Tools, dude. I could not even figure it out. I was just like, I know what I want to do, but my hands won't do what I want them to do. It was the disaster. And then when I actually got it to work and he went in the booth, he couldn't actually like rap the raps that he had in his head and shit on this mushroom trip. He physically couldn't make it happen, just like I couldn't run the studio. It was fucking retarded. So we ended up watching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which, you know, if you're tripping, definitely watch that movie. It's made for people who are fucking tripping.
This is after Wicked Games, right?
Well, yeah, that song had already been done.
And yeah, that's what.
But
I was like, because of the content of the shit. Yeah, I was just thinking
well, yeah, because, you know, we did Wicked Games in that studio.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because, you know, shout out to Mark for letting me use the studio at night because he was never there at night. But, yo, he used to get so mad at me because he'd come in and he'd be like, yo, you fucking smoked the blunt in here, didn't you? I'm like, of course I did. It's me. What are you talking about? He's like, just fucking go outside. Oh, like, he used to get so mad at me. But he had the vocal booth. And I just used to take out the fucking light bulb and just blow all the smoke up in through the thing. Like, yeah, fuck it. I'm not going outside. It was winter. I'm not going out there and smoking a blunt. Fuck you. And, you know, I knew when to, like, stop smoking. And you'd have a couple hours before he was coming in because he would get there like 10 a.m. or something. But, yeah, that was that studio, dude. That was the one with the rocks on the wall, which was really fucking weird for a recording studio.
Second one.
The second one, yeah.
Yeah.
The first one was that little triangle room that was weird as shit.
Yeah,
the second one had the rocks, and like when the mushrooms first hit me, and people were both like over at the rocks, like talking about how you could see the energy in the rocks themselves and whatnot. And I was just like, oh, here we go.
I think they had a yoga studio in there too, like,
on the second floor.
Yeah.
So on that mushroom trip, I need to go to the bathroom, and like the bathrooms on that floor had been destroyed. Somebody blew that shit, like destroyed it. So I'm like, I know I can go upstairs. Dude, I got lost up in the yoga studios because I was fucking tripping. I was probably up there for like 30 minutes walking around. Who knows what Pete was thinking? Like, where is this motherfucker? Like, I was lost up there. In the hallway, like once I started walking down the hallway, it seemed like it was a mile long. It was like that movie scene where the shit stretches. It's just like no matter how much I walked, I just wasn't going anywhere down this hallway. It was really crazy, man. Really crazy. I recommend everybody to do mushrooms at least once. You don't have to, Richie, what up? You don't have to cross the precipice and go to another dimension by any means whatsoever, but this camera's acting funny today. Everybody should do that shit once, because no matter what type of high you have or where you go, when you come back to reality, you have a whole different perspective on things. That's like everybody across the board's just like a better person when they come back. You're going to be a better person. You're going to look at things completely different. I mean, it makes me want to smoke DMT, so I can like cross the precipice again and go like into another dimension. I almost, because No ID used to have DMT at all times on him. He's like, yo, geez, I've smoked that shit like 1,000 times. I was like, how's that even fucking possible? So apparently when you smoke DMT, it's different than a mushroom trip, because the mushroom trip, anything can happen. Apparently if you smoke enough DMT, the same thing happens to everybody. So DMT's in your brain. It's only expressed twice.
When you're born and when you die.
Yes, entering the realm and leaving the realm. So No ID was just like, yo, like everybody sees the garden gnomes who take care of like the trees and the grass and everything. Everyone sees all the things that you don't get to see, and like you see space and time and all this shit, right? He's like, but I smoked it so many times that I kept ending up in the exact same place. He said I ended up in this white room that didn't have any angles. It just kind of looked round, and there was a table in front of me, and there was 3 people sitting at the table. One was like, you know, an alien or whatever. One was a beam of light, and I swear to God, every time I tell this story, I never remember what the third one was. But he's just like, no matter how long I stood there, if I tried to move or say something, I would just snap back to reality. He's like, so the time that I didn't snap back to reality, he's like, I didn't say a word or move. He said it felt like forever, because there is no time on that type of trip. And he said eventually the beam of light came over, got up from the table and came over to him, and it opened its mouth. And he said it just beamed all of these realities into his head. Like he got to see full lifetimes of different versions of himself, like 30 of them from front to beginning, all at the same time. And he said he got to pick one, and that's what he's doing with himself now. I was like, holy fucking shit. That's like wild. But he said it took him like 1,000 trips on DMT to reach what he called the Council of Light. He said, I was at the Council of Light, dude. I was like, what the fuck? See, I can't do that. But I need to. I want to go on an ayahuasca trip, you know, on a journey, because I got some questions that need to be answered. To be perfectly honest with you, I need to go talk to P. So I need to go do this shit. I just don't want to. So anyway, remember when Action lived over in Forest Hills by Kew Gardens, by the Kew Gardens spot, and I used to just walk over to his crib and help him with the studio and shit. So me and him were sitting there talking about like random shit, and you know, he had smoked DMT tons of times. Where do you think those videos come from? So I said something about how I had never smoked DMT, and he looks at me. He's just like, "I'll be your guru," and he just opens the drawer. It's just like, half of me wanted to do it just because it would have been another hilarious story. The first time I ever smoked DMTs was fucking Action Bronson. Like, just the other half of me did not want to disrespect what it is. I mean, Action Bronson, especially at that time, is not the guru that you're supposed to have on your first DMT trip. This is like a spiritual journey and whatnot. So I really, now that, you know, I'm older and I don't know if I'll ever smoke DMT at this point, I probably should have done it. But, you know, you're supposed to, like, be prepared for it. Like, when you go on an ayahuasca journey, you go to, like, Peru or something into the jungle, and it's, like, a whole big ceremony and all this shit. You just don't smoke DMT out of pipe in Action Bronson's crib in Forest Hills for your first time.
Yeah, it's not good.
Especially since, you know, his whole crew was there. They'd have just been fucking, you know, Big Body Bess and all them. They're all mad funny. They'd have just been fucking with me the whole time. Like, wouldn't have been a good look.
It's not good for the girls.
Yo, so let's smoke some DMT, son.
Give you a rain check.
No, I would not smoke DMT with you. Don't take it personal. I would need to be with like an actual experienced group. I did trip off the Dour once, and I don't know why. I had put this Dour in the freezer for like a month. And then I got home from, this was in college, and I was hanging out with Adiola, and we watched a movie, and then we smoked this weed, like, and I don't know why, but everything turned into a cartoon, including her. And, like, it kind of looked like South Park, like the Canadians, when she was talking.
It was laced with dust.
No, I had smoked that weed from that pack itself numerous times. I don't know why I put it in the freezer and left it there for like a month. But I had locks on my room too because I didn't want anybody to take my Dour. So nobody did anything to it, but I did trip once off of weed.
It happened to me once when I smoked regs in high school while I was cutting school. I bought it from some random guy while I was cutting. Like, cutting school was like, oh, you find Dour while you're cutting school. It's like the ultimate, like, treat, you know what I'm saying? And, like, this guy was smoking a blunt. I'm like, yo, what's good, son? And then he's like, oh, it's like done, but like I sell nicks. So I'm like, oh shit, like what's good? And like, yo, I started seeing dancing pirates and shit, like made out of smoke. Like I was like, yeah, that shit was crazy, bro. Like that shit was definitely like some super trash laced with some crazy shit. Like that was like dust probably. Like,
Did you feel like doing the double Dutch dance?
yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what happens when you smoke that wet, that dust. Now, that would have been hilarious if you would have just all of a sudden broke out in a double Dutch,
It was cold.
an uncontrolled desire to do the double Dutch dance is what happens to you when you smoke dust. That would be hilarious. That's not the case, but that would be really fucking, really, really funny. But yeah, man, I guess on this episode of the Dour Hour, this is what we were talking about, is tripping, which is hilarious because I've done it only a few times, and every time it's been outrageous. Like, just so stupid. That's why I don't do it, because my brain it's too much. It's too much, dude. I've been making cookies for 3 straight days. I'm tired, yo. I'm tired of making cookies. I got 3 more to, maybe 2. I don't know if I'm going to do the 3rd one. I think I might stop at 16. 16 different kinds. I'm getting up there to my mom's level.
That's a lot.
Dude, it's been 3 days. 3 days of just, I gotta go bang out a couple more because it's like Christmas is in a couple days. So yeah, I will see y'all tomorrow for the Dour Hour at 3:33. Who knows when this guy's gonna pop up? He's usually around 4 when how much did you dour today? Look at you.
A lot.
I can tell. So anyway, I appreciate everybody coming through. I'll see you tomorrow eventually, I guess. Whatever. Dour people. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning for morning meditation, and then at 3:33 for the Dour Hour. And man, I got cookies to make and hoodies to finish. So, all that usual stuff. RIPP 333.